everyone. My name is Nathan Handler. Over the years, I've built up a software toolbox containing many utilities that make me a better engineer. Recently, I realized that I've never publicly shared these tools and how I use them. At the same time, I find myself constantly wishing that someone had taught me about them earlier in my career. My hope is that people can learn from my experience and that I potentially inspire others to share their own toolboxes. The first tool in my toolbox that I want to talk about is JQ. According to the official site, JQ is a lightweight and flexible command line JSON processor. If you have ever interacted with a REST API, you've likely received back a response in JSON format. JSON stands for JavaScript Object Notation, and it's a format for storing and transporting data. For those of you who have been relying on tools like grep and sed to process this data, prepare to have your minds blown. Let's assume we have a file containing some JSON. While JSON was primarily designed to be written and read by machines, I frequently find myself needing to read through some JSON to figure out what is going on. In this case, having the JSON on a single line makes it a bit challenging to quickly decipher the structure. JQ to the rescue. JQ can easily handle reading in this JSON, parsing it, and outputting it in a more human-friendly style. If you are running it interactively in a terminal, it will even colorize the output to make it easier to distinguish between the object keys and values. It can also handle reading in JSON from standard in, so you can pipe the output of curl straight to JQ. I do a lot of scripting in Python. While JSON might visually resemble a Python dictionary, there are some key differences. For example, I have a bad habit of including trailing commas and using single quotes instead of double quotes around my strings. Neither of these things is allowed in JSON, and they can be a real pain to catch when debugging. Once again, JQ can help. Let's say we accidentally include a trailing comma after the last social item. JQ will helpfully notify you that there was a problem. It will even call out the approximate location of the issue. While it might take a little time for you to get used to understanding what these errors mean, you will at least be able to immediately know that you have a malformed JSON file. If this was all that JQ could do, it would still be a very helpful tool. However, we've barely scratched the surface. You might be wondering, what was that first argument, the period that we're passing to JQ? That argument is a filter. It manipulates the input data into the proper output style we are after. A filter of a period tells JQ to take the input data and output it as is. Let's go back to our earlier example. What if instead of displaying the entire JSON object, we wanted to only show the last item in the items list on the second slide? No sweat. Bonus tip. If you want to output just the content without any color or quotes, you can pass the -r argument to JQ. JQ contains a number of functions that can be used to craft more complex filters. You can even use pipes to chain filters together. For example, this command will find the slide with the title of Overview and display its items. Finally, for all of the YAML lovers in the audience, did you know that you could use JQ with your YAML? To do this, we use a tool called UQ, or one of the many other similar tools out there, to parse the YAML and pipe it to JQ. This can be a great way to catch issues related to formatting or typos. For example, let's look at this basic YAML file. At first glance, everything appears normal. But keep an eye on this field, specifying my favorite letter. Running this YAML file through UQ and JQ, we can see that our favorite letter is no longer a string, but rather a Boolean. UQ is a lightweight Golang binary. It's available on GitHub, and it was written by Kyle Anderson. I realize that there can be a bit of a learning curve for new tools like JQ. Sometimes it is nice to be able to fall back on more familiar tools like grep. As a bit of a bonus, I have one more related tool to share. Meet Gron. You pipe JSON into it, and it will output the data in a format that is more readily greppable. For example, you can easily search for all slides in the data. Reading data is nice, but what if you want to edit the data? Gron can help with that too. Pipe Gron-like output to Gron with the -- on Gron argument, and it will convert the data back to JSON. Gron was written by Tom Hudson, and it's also available on GitHub. That's all I have for you this time. Hopefully this information proves useful for folks needing to work with JSON. If you found this video helpful, please leave a comment and let me know. Until next time, I'm Nathan Handler, and thanks for watching.